Tonight, we will be covering topics that include, but are not limited to, discussing why emotions are important, how we provide social emotional learning, and what to expect as we continue to roll out Ruler here at the high school. To begin, I'd like to introduce our Ruler team. Joining me is Mr. Janowski, school counselor, Mrs. Prince, school counselor, Ms. Wilbur, special education teacher, Mr. Porta, science teacher, and Ms. Holzberg, supervisor of student services. Ms. Holzberg was our team leader prior to her new position in our district, yet she is still an integral part of our Ruler team. Also with us this evening is Dr. Watkins, Director of Instruction and Community Relations. Thank you again for joining us. And here is Ms. Holzberg to kick off our presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Sipe. Good evening, everybody. So to start off our presentation tonight, I'll go over a little bit of what is Ruler and what the acronym stands for. So Ruler is an approach to social emotional learning that is designed to include everyone and to be integrated into all aspects of the school. Ruler provides everyone in the school community, children, teachers, staff, administrators, and families with tools that translate into life skills. Ruler stands for recognizing emotions in oneself and others, understanding the causes and consequences of emotions, labeling emotions with a nuanced vocabulary, accordance with cultural norms and social contexts, and regulating emotions with helpful strategies. As the Ruler coordinator for the school district, I've worked with teachers and staff members to continue to work with rolling out our Ruler implementation timeline. So during faculty and department meetings, we worked on our kickoff meeting of Ruler, a brief overview of how we navigate through the platform. We then moved into building our department and faculty charters, where we build and sustain a positive climate through a shared agreement between people on how they want to feel at work or while engaging in learning. Recently, in April, we focused on our meta moment, which is a response to emotional triggers in more effective ways that align with one's best self. And as we move into the weeks of May, we will work on our blueprint that'll provide a structure to problem-solving interpersonal conflicts with empathy and perspective taking. Lastly, to end the year, in June, we will discuss our accomplishments and challenges, where we will take a closer look at what those accomplishments are for Ruler, what our challenges are, and how we plan to integrate and implement Ruler into our K-12 curriculum for the 2023-24 school year.
Our Millbrook High School charter for Ruler uses the acronym PEACE, which stands for Purpose, Ethics, Acceptance, Community, and Evolution. That is also our district values as well. Each of these words has a vocabulary associated with it that we will focus on as we implement Ruler into the high school community and curriculum. Our high school charter is through PEACE. Millbrook High School will sustain the mission and vision of MCSD by working collaboratively with the school community to empower and support a unique and individualized learning experience. In addition, Millbrook High School will strive to inspire social emotional learning opportunities in order to become productive members of society. One of the easiest and most engaging ways to integrate Ruler into the classroom curriculum is to start homeroom or specific classes with a mood meter check-in. This tool is intended to help students build their emotional vocabulary, which in turn will enhance their emotional wellness. The mood meter uses two core properties to create a mind-body connection, which revolves around expressing energy and pleasantness levels through a specific vocabulary term. In turn, labeling these feelings enables students to organize their experiences, increase empathy for themselves and others, and enhance social connections and relatability to others.
Next, we have our social emotional learning cycle. It's depicted in a good diagram right here in circle form, almost like a wheel, because there are 5 cogs in this wheel. The 5 cogs being self-awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, and self-management. The reason these 5 cogs fill this wheel and promote the cycle is that we're encouraging our students through the implementation of Ruler to recognize one's emotions and value as one's strengths and challenges. This is crucial because if you can yourself, a student or an adult, express what you are strong at and what you might need to work on, it's the first step in becoming self-aware of your emotions. The next being responsible decision-making. I think we can all agree that if you are at a level emotional state and you are not, having a difficult time, you're more likely to make a sound decision. If you are having a difficult day or you had something tragic happen or some type of trauma in the morning, whether it's you ran out of your favorite cereal or you had a loved one pass away suddenly, this can affect your decision-making in either a very negative way or a positive way. Relationship skills is also crucial. It's the third cog as well. We want to encourage our students to form positive relationships, working in teams, and dealing effectively with conflict. Obviously, there's a lot of team settings in a high school setting, and that the students are able to work effectively with each other and hear each other's emotions and where each student is coming from, they will be able to deal with their conflicts more efficiently. Social awareness shows the understanding and empathy for others. A big part of Ruler is being able to recognize empathy and having empathy towards others. The fifth and final cog is self-management, where we're able to manage our emotions and behaviors to achieve one's goals. That is crucial in itself, because if you're able to keep your emotions in check in a positive light, you're more likely to succeed and be able to achieve those goals while working with others. The next slide is actually a follow-up from our social and emotional learning cycle. Emotions matter. Emotions influence the following: attention, memory, and learning. An example of this is a student in the classroom where if they come to school and they're having a bad day already, it might affect their ability to grasp material within a classroom. For example, if you have first period science and you are late to school because you missed the bus, or for whatever other reason, you might come in a little hot-headed, a little more hot under the collar than usual, and you might be distracted. So if you're trying to learn your material, you might have a harder time in grasping that because you yourself can't get out of your way of your own negative emotion. Decision-making and judgment as well. We just went through that. Relationship quality, physical and mental health is huge. If you are in a positive state, you're in a more positive physical and mental state. You will be able to go through your daily activities and routines in a more efficient way. This is to be said for students as well as adults. I think a big part that we're trying to incorporate here is that we want to see where others are coming from in Ruler. We're coming from in their day. If you come into the building the first period of the day, you have a student that is very upset. It's not to get mad or angry at the student and reprimand them for disrupting the class. It's more of a way where you can go up to the student and say, hey, what's going on? Is there something wrong? Did something happen this morning? That is what we want to teach the students, and that goes for adults as well, because adults have bad days too. The following slide is actually a perfect example of what we might have right now and what we want to achieve in the future. The picture on the left shows a student who is very visibly upset, is probably having a very emotional day, probably not in a good emotional way. Something bad could have happened. This would be a great place to implement Ruler. We want to know what happened to him. Why is he feeling this? Why does he feel that the need to scream and raise his hands in the air? We want to see how we can help him and how we can make him look more like the picture on the right, where we have 4 students who are clearly in high spirits. It looks like they're emotionally stable. They're working together as a team, which is a big component of Ruler. We want to promote healthy teamwork and collaboration. This is where we want to strive for.
Okay, and Mr. Chanowski talked about how emotions matter. One aspect of that is emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence? By definition, emotional intelligence is the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings, to discriminate among them, and to use this information to guide one's thinking and actions. Emotional intelligence provides a framework for understanding the role of emotions, the information we have and can gain from our emotions, and our ability to manage emotions. It also includes the importance of using these skills, not just having them or knowing about them in our daily life, but having the emotional strategies we need to achieve our goals. So in other words, being smart about our emotions. And now that we know what emotional intelligence is, you may be wondering how it's beneficial in school. So the social emotional approach of Ruler provides tools for authentic and appropriate expression from goal setting to stress management for both children and adults. When integrated into an academic curriculum, social emotional learning encourages active participation and improves retention of concepts. This approach allows students to learn techniques for managing emotions and developing essential social skills, which are critical for establishing healthy relationships, effective communication, and a fulfilling life. Imagine an environment where teachers are perceptive of students' verbal and nonverbal cues in the classroom. Kids are supporting each other's academic aspirations and goals, and also where families can better understand their children's academic challenges. And such an environment is conducive to a deeper learning because it reduces tension and promotes a positive learning atmosphere. So as you can see, emotional intelligence, it's not just a buzzword, but a crucial aspect of learning and growth for children. And by investing in their emotional well-being, we can help our students become more successful in all areas of their lives.
So Ruler has a tiered level of support. So there is social emotional learning for all within the schools. Tier 1 involves classroom daily SELs. Those could be the mood meters, constant check-ins, maybe feelings Friday, possibly, who knows? Informative assemblies, after school clubs. Tier 2 is social emotional learning for those who need it. It's a little bit more targeted, group counseling, crisis counseling. And then tier 3 is for those who need it the most, mandated counseling, community supports. Within the classroom, we're going to build in core routines. This is tier 1. And we're going to create adaptable practices based upon the Ruler tools that can be integrated into class schedules and academic instruction. We will create repeatable, customizable activities that enhance the emotional environment of the classroom, and will be repetitive day in and day out to really implement the Ruler within the classroom.
Some of our social emotional learning events and informative assemblies that relate to our tier 1 interventions include but are not limited to Grace Smith House, who returned to Millbrook High School this year to provide presentations for students on bullying and cyberbullying. They also discussed internet safety, and they even came for our staff members to discuss adverse childhood experiences in our community. And then again, they returned for teen dating violence. So you can see that Grace Smith House is definitely a great organization that has been very supportive with our social emotional learning here at Millbrook High School. In addition to James's Warriors, who has come to Millbrook High School to present on suicide prevention and awareness. We have our Council for Addiction Prevention Education, who have presented and will be returning next year as well for addiction prevention. Hang Up and Drive, where students were presented with real life experiences from our guest speakers on distracted driving, texting, and talking on the phone, and what those consequences could unfortunately be. Myself and Sabrina Lorino from Millbrook Middle School, we went to United Way to receive donations for families in need during the holidays, and they do quarterly visits where we're able to continue to accept donations where we're able to provide to our families. And lastly, New York's Finest Speakers, who have presented to students on internet safety, and they will be returning next Thursday, May 18th at 7 p.m. for another presentation on internet safety for parents and guardians. So for post-secondary opportunities, social emotional learning is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and even achieve personal and collective goals. Social emotional learning is where humans can feel and show empathy for others. They can establish and maintain supportive relationships and make responsible and caring decisions. So some of this aligns to post-secondary opportunities. The reason is because by paying attention to students' developmental needs, educators can create supportive learning environments and coordinate practices across classrooms schools, families, and communities to enhance all students' social, emotional, and academic learning. So some, again, but not limited to, events that have taken place here at Millbrook are communication with local 38 Steam Fitters Union that provides our high school students with apprenticeship opportunities. We also have connected with the Northeast Community Center for school to work introductions. Our teachers had held a very successful electives fair where they advertised to students some electives that some electives that draw interest to our students, to kind of give them an overview of what the content consists of and draw attention to those electives. And then our high school counselors organized a college and career fair a couple of weeks ago that was very successful, that also supported our students with their post-secondary plans for academic learning.
And finally, Access VR, our post-secondary services available to graduating high school seniors, special education seniors. These are transition services that provide a variety of supports that include but are not limited to vocational and college support, job placement, resume building, job shadowing, and financial assistance in paying for college, books, etc. Students interested receive an application mailed home from their counselor and can complete the application if interested. They will then meet with the Access VR counselor later in the school year.
Group and crisis counseling. Group counseling is provided for students in need of mediation to alleviate emotional difficulties they may experience with their peers. Any student in the building has access to this counseling at any time if they demonstrate it at any particular time. Ruler is actually going to be quite effective with the group counseling. As I mentioned before, for the social and emotional learning cycle, 3 of those components are self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness. These all play a key component with the group counseling, because while we usually have at least 2 or more students in these group counseling sessions, it's usually to alleviate some sort of social problem amongst, it could be students in the same friend group or outside of that particular friend group. This shows them how they need to be aware of other people's emotions and other people's feelings, and how we could express ourselves and what we're feeling in a professional, respectful way. We're not talking over other students. We're letting everyone say what they need to say, and we are responding in a polite, professional manner. Crisis counseling is more on an individual base for a specific situation that a student might be experiencing at any given moment. Counseling staff will assess the crisis and provide the student and family with the appropriate supports. This meaning where if it's something along the lines of maybe a student just lost a family pet and they're having a very rough day, they come down to the office, we go through their feelings of what they're feeling. We talk about what they're experiencing at home, how difficult their day has been. If it's more on a serious note, we have parent contact, we have outside referrals we can recommend to help the student grieve through their grieving process. When it comes to mandated counseling is provided to special education students who present with a significant social, emotional, and/or behavioral need that require ongoing sessions to address specific goals that are progress monitored. Mandated counseling is provided by school psychologists and/or school counselors. General education students who qualify for a Section 504 accommodation plan may also receive mandated counseling services. It could be anything from 5 times a year for 45-minute sessions to 30 times a year, whatever is deemed on the legal document. The student is more than welcome to meet with any of our counseling staff. More than that, they're allowed to come down to our offices whenever they are feeling any sort of crisis whatsoever. But in general, the mandated counseling for either the 504 students or the special education students is monitored through those documents. Community supports. As I mentioned before, there's outside referrals that they recommended, whether it's a therapist, a psychologist. Students can access this, or parents can access this without a referral from the school. Things, for example, would be an in-day treatment program. School counselors and psychologists facilitate access between families and mental and behavioral health supports within the community. A prime example of this would be if we had a student who was in attendance to one of those IDT treatments, or the counselor or the psychologist would be the liaison between the parents, the student, the teachers, and the facility to provide work or any necessary accommodations that need to be implemented once the student is back in our school building.
So just to give some examples of some of the supports that we offer at the tier 3 level. So services are provided through tier 3 are the most intensive and the highest level of intervention available to our students. We work in partnership with a variety of community organizations and agencies to support our students. Services recommended are dependent upon the individual needs of the specific student in question. So just to kind of name a few of those community organizations that we have had a relationship with and we currently work with. The first one is SPOA, which stands for Single Point of Access. So SPOA is a process that provides for the identification of individuals most in need of services and manages service access and utilization geared towards mental health. The Dutchess County Youth Bureau Services, they provide a plethora of services to youth through guidance, advocacy, referrals, and educational services. Astor Services provide a variety of services to children and their families. Services include in-home, community-based, and site-based programs, just to name a few. Some of these examples of service include family therapy, individual therapy and counseling, case management, school-based behavioral health and training. Additionally, our district contracts with a social worker through Astor Services, who provides counseling to students in need during our school day. Persons in Need of Supervision, also known as PINS, is a branch of service through Dutchess County. PINS services are primarily for students who exhibit chronic absenteeism from school and or are exhibiting out of control behaviors, and parents or guardians require additional support. NAMI, which stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is a mental health organization which provides education, advocacy, excuse me, support and public awareness so that all students and families impacted by mental illness can live better lives. And finally, CAPE, which stands for the Council on Addiction Prevention and Education, is a community-based organization that provides both prevention and educational services geared towards alcoholism and substance abuse services. Grace Smith House is an organization that provides services for victims of domestic violence. Some of these services provided include crisis intervention, counseling and support groups, shelter and emergency housing, advocacy, outreach, and community education. The community education is focused on bullying and relationship violence prevention and intervention.
Okay, so let's see. Now that we're aware about social emotional learning and all of our different levels of support, how are we going to keep track of the information, the interventions and student data? So we're going to do that with what we call Synergy Student Information Systems. And Synergy is a streamlined data management system, and it helps schools streamline their data management processes by allowing them to store all student data in one central location. It includes attendance records, grades, any disciplinary records, health information, academic interventions, and more. And this helps school administrators easily access important information about students in real time and to make some informed decisions. Some different ways that Synergy is used is through improved communication. Synergy can help schools improve communication between teachers, administrators, and parents. The software allows teachers to quickly and easily share information about student progress with parents and administrators, and it also enables parents to communicate with teachers and administrators about their child's progress. It increases efficiency by automating many of the administrative tasks associated with student information management. Synergy will help schools increase their efficiency and reduce the time and effort required to manage student information. It will help us make better decisions with access to real-time data and analytics. Synergy can help school administrators make more informed decisions about student performance, policies, and resource allocation. And finally, with enhanced security, Synergy will maintain security of all student information and data and protects students and prevents unauthorized access. So overall, Synergy will provide our school with a powerful tool for managing student information, improving communication, increasing efficiency, and making informed decisions.
Okay, so this concludes our presentation. At this time, are there any questions?
There are no individuals. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.